Claire Monroe thought she was safe. 4 years of hiding, 4 years of silence, 4 years of pretending her past didn't exist. But safety is an illusion when you're running from a man like Victor Kane. When the cafe door opens and he walks in, powerful, precise, and devastatingly familiar, her carefully constructed life shatters. Worse, his eyes move from her face to the little girl clutching her hand. Emma, their daughter. The secret Claire has protected with poverty and fear. Victor's expression shifts from shock to something darker. 4 years of lies are about to explode, and Claire knows. You can't outrun the devil forever. Before we dive into Claire's story, hit that like button and drop a comment telling me what city you're watching from. I love seeing how far these stories travel. Now, let's begin. The rain came down in sheets, turning Portland's streets into rivers of gray. Claire Monroe stood under the broken awning of Thompson's Café, her coat soaked through, watching water stream off the edges like a curtain separating her from the world. Emma pressed against her leg, small fingers twisted in the fabric of Claire's worn jeans. "Mama, I'm cold," Emma whispered, her voice barely audible over the drumming rain. Claire looked down at her daughter, 4 years old, dark curls plastered to her forehead, brown eyes wide with the particular misery of a child who'd been promised hot chocolate an hour ago. Those eyes. Every time Claire looked into them, she saw him. The father Emma didn't know existed. "I know, baby. Let's go inside and get warm." The cafe was nearly empty. A student hunched over a laptop in the corner, headphones blocking out the world. An elderly couple sharing a newspaper in what looked like their 50th year of comfortable silence. The barista, a young woman with purple streaks in her hair, barely glanced up from her phone. Perfect. Anonymous. Safe. Claire had built her life on these moments, the unremarkable, the forgettable, the invisible. She guided Emma to a table near the back, away from the windows, always away from the windows. Old habits died hard, and some habits were the only things keeping you alive. "Can I have the one with marshmallows?" Emma asked, climbing onto the cracked vinyl seat. She'd already forgotten about being cold, resilience returning with the promise of sugar. "You can have whatever you want, sweetheart." Claire shrugged out of her wet coat and draped it over the chair. Beneath it, her sweater was faded, stretched at the neck from too many washes. Her jeans had a patch on one knee that Emma thought was fashionable because Claire had sewn it there with a smile. Everything Claire owned could fit in 2 suitcases. Everything she owned could be abandoned in under 3 minutes if she needed to run. She'd run before. The barista approached with the exhausted shuffle of someone working their 3rd double shift that week. Claire ordered hot chocolate for Emma, black coffee for herself. Cheap, simple, nothing that would draw attention or strain the $23 currently folded in her wallet. "Mama, can I draw?" Claire pulled a battered notebook and a handful of crayons from her bag. Emma snatched the red one immediately, always red first, then yellow, building her pictures from warmth outward. Claire watched her daughter's small hand move across the paper, creating worlds Claire could never give her. Castles, princesses, families with both a mother and a father. That last one made Claire's chest tight. 4 years. 4 years since she'd run. 4 years since she'd left everything behind, the penthouse, the cars, the life that glittered like diamonds and cut just as deep. 4 years since she'd looked at the positive pregnancy test and known, with absolute certainty, that she couldn't raise a child in Victor Kane's world. Not her child. Not in that darkness. The coffee arrived, steam rising in lazy spirals. Claire wrapped her hands around the cup, letting the heat seep into her fingers. Emma was already elbow-deep in hot chocolate, a marshmallow mustache forming above her lip. "Good?" Claire asked. Emma nodded, eyes closing with the bliss only children can achieve from simple pleasures. "The best." Claire allowed herself a smile. Days like this, ordinary days, were victories. Every morning, Emma woke up in their tiny apartment, every afternoon at the playground, every evening story before bed. These were things Claire had chosen: freedom over luxury, struggle over subjugation. Her daughter would grow up without limousines and bodyguards, without locked doors and whispered threats, without learning that love and control were the same thing, without knowing her father. The guilt that accompanied that thought was familiar, a low-grade fever Claire had learned to function through. She'd made her choice. She'd live with it. She was reaching for her coffee when the air in the cafe changed. It was subtle, the kind of shift you'd miss if you hadn't spent 3 years learning to read a room to sense danger before it arrived. Claire's hand froze halfway to the cup. The elderly couple looked up from their paper. The student's eyes flicked toward the door. Even the barista straightened, some instinct recognizing the presence of someone who commanded attention without asking for it. Claire didn't want to look. Every muscle in her body screamed at her to grab Emma and run, to disappear into the kitchen and out the back exit, to do what she'd done 4 years ago and vanish into the rain. But she looked anyway. And there he was. Victor Kane stood just inside the door, rain dripping from the shoulders of a coat that probably cost more than Claire's annual rent. Tall, imposing, perfectly still in the way apex predators are still before they strike. His dark hair was shorter than she remembered, touched with gray at the temples that somehow made him more dangerous, not less. His face was a study in controlled power, sharp jaw, strong features, eyes that could dissect you with a glance. Those eyes swept the cafe with the efficiency of a man who'd spent his life assessing threats and assets. They passed over the student, the couple, the barista, and landed on Claire. The world stopped. 4 years collapsed into nothing. Claire felt 24 again, standing in a gallery opening she'd catered, watching this same man approach her with the inevitability of a storm. She'd been so young then, so stupid. She'd mistaken intensity for passion, possession for protection. She'd learned the difference too late. Victor's expression shifted through emotions too quickly to track. Shock, disbelief, something that might have been pain before it hardened into ice. He didn't move toward her, not yet, but Claire could feel the weight of his attention like a physical thing, crushing the air from her lungs. "Mama?" Emma's voice was small, uncertain. "Why are you scared?" Claire's gaze snapped to her daughter. Emma was watching her with those two observant eyes, crayon forgotten in her hand. Claire forced her face into something approximating calm. "I'm not scared, baby. I thought I saw someone I used to know." Emma looked past her toward the door, curiosity lighting her features. "Who?" "No one important." But it was too late. Victor had heard Emma's voice. His attention, which had been fixed on Claire with laser focus, shifted. He looked at Emma. Claire watched it happen in excruciating slow motion. Watched Victor's eyes travel from Emma's dark curls to her small nose, to the stubborn set of her jaw that was pure Kane genetics. Watched recognition dawn like a sunrise, terrible and inevitable. Watched him do the math. Emma was 4. Claire had been gone for 4 years and 3 months. The timeline was damning. Victor's face went absolutely blank, the kind of empty that preceded violence. He took a step forward, then another, moving with the controlled precision of a man who'd built an empire on never showing weakness, never losing control. But Claire could see the fury. It radiated from him like heat from asphalt. She stood, putting herself between Victor and Emma. "Don't." That single word stopped him 3 feet from their table. They stared at each other across a distance that felt infinite and microscopic at once. 4 years of silence hung between them. "Claire," her name in his mouth sounded like a verdict. "You're alive." "Yes?" "You've been alive for 4 years." "Yes." His jaw clenched. "And you didn't think I had a right to know." The barista was watching now, phone in hand, sensing drama. The couple had abandoned all pretense of reading. Claire didn't care. Let them watch, let them record. She'd faced worse than public humiliation. "You had no rights to anything in my life," Claire said quietly. "I made sure of that when I left." "Did you?" Victor's voice dropped lower, intimate with threat. "Because from where I'm standing, it looks like you took something that very much belongs to me." Emma shifted behind Claire, sensing the danger even if she didn't understand it. "Mama?" Victor's eyes moved to Emma again, and this time they stayed there. Claire watched him take in every detail, the red crayon clutched in small fingers, the hot chocolate ring around her mouth, the picture she'd been drawing. A family. Mother, father, child. "How old is she?" Victor asked, though he clearly already knew. 4. 4. He repeated it like he was tasting the word, finding it bitter. 4 years old, 4 years I didn't know I had a daughter. "You don't have a daughter," Claire said, and each word felt like stepping on glass. "You have nothing to do with her, with us." Victor's laugh was cold enough to freeze blood. Is that what you tell yourself? That you could steal my child and I'd have nothing to do with it? I didn't steal anything. I protected her. Protected her. The words cracked like a whip. From what? From having a father? From having everything she could ever want? From having a father who mistakes control for love? Claire's voice rose despite her efforts to stay calm. From growing up thinking locked doors and armed guards are normal. From learning that the man who's supposed to protect her is the same man everyone else fears. The cafe had gone completely silent. Even the rain seemed to quiet, as if the world itself was holding its breath. Victor's expression didn't change, but something flickered in his eyes. Hurt, maybe. Or rage buried so deep it had fossilized into something harder. You don't get to make that choice for me, he said. You don't get to decide I'm not fit to be a father. I already made it, 4 years ago. And now I'm making a different one. He pulled out his phone with the casual confidence of a man who'd never been told no and meant it. We can do this here in front of your daughter, or we can step outside and handle this privately. Your choice. You have 30 seconds. Claire's heart hammered against her ribs. She knew that tone, knew what it meant when Victor gave ultimatums. He would follow through. He always followed through. But Emma was watching with wide, confused eyes. Emma, who'd lived her whole life in peace, who didn't know words like custody battle or legal rights or paternity test. Fine, Claire said. Outside. 5 minutes. She turned to Emma, crouching down to eye level. Her daughter's face was pinched with worry, and Claire wanted to scream at the unfairness of it all. 4 years. 4 years of keeping Emma safe, and one rainy afternoon destroyed everything. Baby, I need to talk to that man for a minute. You're going to stay right here and finish your hot chocolate, okay? Who is he? Emma whispered. The question Claire had dreaded for 4 years. The question she'd prepared a dozen different answers for, none of them adequate. Someone from a long time ago, she said, which was true enough. I'll be right back, I promise. She caught the barista's eye. The young woman nodded, understanding without words. She'd keep watch. Claire pressed a kiss to Emma's forehead, breathing in the scent of her soap and rain and hot chocolate, and stood. Victor was already at the door, holding it open. Not courteous, commanding. Claire walked past him into the rain, feeling its cold shock against her skin. The door closed behind them. They stood under the broken awning, rain creating a curtain of privacy around them. 4 years, Victor said again. He was looking at her like she was a stranger. 4 years you let me think you were dead. I never told you I was dead. You vanished without a trace, your apartment cleaned out, your phone disconnected, your friends claiming they hadn't heard from you. What the hell was I supposed to think? That I left, that I didn't want to be found. Why? The question exploded from him. Why, Claire? What did I do that was so terrible you had to disappear? That you had to take my... His voice cracked, actual emotion breaking through the ice. My daughter. You took my daughter. Claire wrapped her arms around herself, suddenly freezing. You want to know why? Fine, I'll tell you why. The memories came flooding back. The first time Victor had locked her in their penthouse for her safety. The bodyguards who'd followed her everywhere, reporting her movements back to him. The way he'd isolated her from her friends, convinced her she was safest with only him. You were suffocating me, she said. Every decision I made had to go through you. Every friend I had, you ran a background check on. You put trackers on my phone, my car. You told me it was protection, but it was a cage, Victor. A beautiful, luxurious cage. I was keeping you safe, he shot back. Do you have any idea how many people would have used you to get to me? And do you have any idea how it feels to be a possession? To be something guarded instead of someone loved? I loved you. You loved owning me. Claire's voice rose to match his. You loved knowing exactly where I was, who I was with, what I was doing. That's not love, Victor. That's obsession. He stared at her, rain dripping from his hair, jaw clenched so tight she could see the muscle jumping. So you ran. You found out you were pregnant with my child, and you ran. I found out I was pregnant, and I realized I couldn't raise a baby in your world. I couldn't let her grow up thinking your way was normal. I couldn't... Her voice broke. I couldn't let you turn her into another thing you owned. Silence fell between them, broken only by the rain. Victor's hands were fists at his sides, his whole body vibrating with restrained fury. You should have told me, he said finally, voice low and deadly. You should have given me the chance to... To what? Change? You don't change, Victor. You are what you are. You built an empire on control and fear, and you don't just walk away from that because you have a kid. You don't know what I would have done. You didn't give me the option. No, Claire agreed. I didn't, because I knew what was at stake. Her life, her happiness, her freedom. And what about my rights? My chance to be a father? You forfeited those when you couldn't tell the difference between protection and imprisonment. Victor took a step closer, and Claire's instinct was to back up. But she held her ground. She'd spent 4 years learning to stand on her own. She wouldn't give that up now. I could destroy you, he said softly. One phone call, and I'd have a team of lawyers that would bury you. I could prove you're an unfit mother, no stable income, no permanent address, raising my daughter in poverty when she could have everything. Fear spiked through Claire's chest, but she kept her face calm. You could try. I could succeed. Maybe. But you'd lose her anyway. You think a 4-year-old is going to love the man who took her from her mother? You think you can force your way into her life and she'll just accept you? Something flickered across Victor's face. Uncertainty, maybe. Or the first crack in his armor. She deserves better than what you can give her, he said, but there was less conviction in it now. She deserves to be loved without conditions. She deserves to make mistakes without bodyguards preventing them. She deserves to grow up free. Claire's voice softened. She deserves what you and I never had. A choice. Through the cafe window, they could see Emma. She was drawing again, seemingly content, but Claire could see the way she kept glancing at the door, worried. Victor saw it too. His expression shifted, something raw and painful crossing his features. That's my daughter, he said quietly. My daughter. And I didn't even know she existed. I know. I missed everything. First steps, first words. 4 years of her life gone. I know, Claire said again, and this time there was genuine regret in her voice. Whatever Victor had done to her, whatever their relationship had been, he'd lost something irreplaceable. She couldn't pretend that was justice. I want to know her, Victor said. I want to be part of her life. Victor, not like you're thinking, not with lawyers and custody battles and force. He looked at her, and for the first time since walking into that cafe, he looked less like a crime boss and more like a man who'd just discovered he had a child. I'm asking you, Claire. Please, let me know my daughter. The request shocked her more than any threat could have. Victor Kane didn't ask. He demanded. He took. He controlled. But there was no control in his voice now, just a father's desperate need. Claire thought about Emma inside, drawing her pictures of families. Thought about the questions that would come eventually. Where's my daddy? Why don't I have a father? Doesn't he want me? Thought about her daughter growing up thinking she wasn't wanted, wasn't worth sticking around for. If I say yes, Claire said slowly, there are rules, non-negotiable rules. Victor's eyes sharpened. I'm listening. Emma's life stays normal. No bodyguards following her to preschool, no armored cars, no teaching her that the world is something to fear. I can't just turn off who I am. Then you stay away from her until you figure out how. Claire's voice was steel. I won't let her grow up in your world, Victor. That's the line. Cross it and I disappear again, and this time you'll never find us. He stared at her, weighing the threat. They both knew she meant it. They both knew she'd done it before. Fine, he said finally. Normal life. What else? You don't make decisions about her without consulting me. Not about schools, not about activities, not about anything. We're co-parents, not you issuing orders. His jaw tightened, but he nodded. Agreed. And you earn her trust. You don't buy it with gifts or tell her you're her father right away. You meet her as a friend of mine. You let her get comfortable. You let her choose to love you. That one hurt him. Claire could see it in the way his shoulders tensed, but he nodded again. Anything else? Yes? Claire looked him directly in the eyes. You prove to me that you've changed, that you can respect boundaries, that you understand love isn't the same as possession. Because the moment I think you're trying to control her the way you tried to control me, we're done. Forever. The rain fell harder, soaking them both. Victor stood there, probably ruining a $1,000 coat, looking at the woman who'd once shared his bed and the daughter he'd never met. I can do that, he said quietly. I can be what she needs. Can you, or will you just be what you think she needs, wrapped in your control? Claire, he stopped, seeming to struggle with words. I know I failed you. I know I crossed lines I shouldn't have, but I never wanted to hurt you. I just wanted to keep you safe. Safe and suffocated aren't that different, Victor. I know that now. He ran a hand through his wet hair. I've had 4 years to think about why you left, to realize what I did wrong. And did you change? He met her eyes. I don't know. I haven't had anyone to test it on, but for her, he glanced at the cafe window. For my daughter, I'll learn. I swear to you, I'll learn. Claire wanted to believe him, wanted to think people could change, that 4 years was enough time for even Victor Kane to become someone different. But she'd learned the hard way that wanting something didn't make it true. We start slow, she said. You can meet her today, just as my friend. Nothing more. And then? And then we see. If you can respect the boundaries, if you can let her live a normal life, if you can prove that you're thinking of her happiness instead of your own need for control. Victor nodded slowly. Okay, we do it your way. Say it, Claire demanded. Say the words. Say you'll respect my rules. I'll respect your rules. He said it clearly, without hesitation. Emma's life stays normal. We make decisions together. I earn her trust instead of demanding it. And if you think I'm crossing the line, you have every right to walk away. It should have made her feel better, should have reassured her. But Claire knew better than to trust promises made in the rain by a man who'd broken every promise before. Still, what choice did she have? Victor knew about Emma now. The secret was out. She could run again, but he'd find them. He had resources she couldn't match. And maybe, just maybe, Emma deserved to know her father, deserved the chance to have both parents in her life, even if one of them terrified Claire to her core. Come on, Claire said, turning toward the cafe door. Let's go meet your daughter. They walked inside together, water pooling at their feet. Emma looked up from her drawing, eyes widening when she saw them both. Mama, you're soaked. I know, baby. Sorry. Claire slid into her seat, acutely aware of Victor standing at the table's edge, looking at Emma like she was the only person in the world. Emma looked at him with open curiosity. Hi, I'm Emma. Victor's expression softened in a way Claire had never seen before. Hi, Emma. I'm Victor. I'm a friend of your mom's. From a long time ago? Yes, from a long time ago. Emma considered this with the seriousness only children can muster. Do you want to see my drawing? I would love to see your drawing. She pushed the notebook toward him. Victor sat down slowly, like he was approaching something fragile and precious. He studied Emma's crayon family with the same intensity he probably gave to business contracts. This is beautiful, he said, and his voice was rough with emotion. Is this your family? Yep, that's me, that's Mama, and that's... Emma paused, frowning at the stick figure she'd drawn with a crown. That's the dad. I don't have one, but I pretend sometimes. Claire's heart cracked. Beside her, Victor went completely still. Every family is different, Claire said gently. Some kids have a mom and a dad. Some have 2 moms. Some have just a mom or just a dad. What matters is that they're loved. I know, Emma said, but sometimes I wonder what it would be like to have a dad. Victor looked at Claire. The question in his eyes was clear. Can I tell her? Claire shook her head minutely. Not yet. Not today. Let Emma get used to him first. Let her see who he is before dropping that truth on her small shoulders. Well, Victor said carefully, I bet any dad would be very lucky to have you. Emma beamed at him. You think so? I know so. They sat there, the 3 of them, while rain drummed against the windows and Emma chattered about her drawings. Victor listened with complete focus, asking questions, laughing at her jokes, being charming in a way Claire had forgotten he could be. And despite everything, despite the fear and the anger and the 4 years of running, Claire felt something shift, saw a glimpse of the man Victor might have been if he'd never built his empire. The man who could be gentle instead of controlling, present instead of possessive. The man who could, maybe, be a father. But trust would take more than one afternoon in a cafe. Trust would take time and proof, and Victor demonstrating that he could put Emma's needs above his own desire for control. Claire watched him smile at their daughter, watched Emma warm to him with the easy affection of childhood, and thought, this is either the best decision I've ever made, or the worst. Only time would tell which. The rain continued to fall, washing the streets clean, and inside the cafe, a family that shouldn't exist began the fragile process of becoming real. The cafe became their neutral ground over the next 2 weeks. Every Tuesday and Thursday afternoon, Claire would bring Emma, and Victor would be waiting. Always at the same table by the window, always with hot chocolate already ordered, always careful not to overstep. Claire watched him with the wariness of a woman who'd learned that charm could be a weapon. Victor was patient in a way she'd never seen before, letting Emma dictate the pace of their interactions. Some days she was chatty, showing him drawings and telling elaborate stories about her stuffed animals. Other days she was shy, content to color while the adults talked in low voices. But he was winning her over. Claire could see it happening, slow and inevitable as a tide. He's really good with her, the barista, whose name Claire had learned was Jade, said one afternoon while Victor was helping Emma pick out a cookie. Your friend. Friend. The lie sat bitter on Claire's tongue. Yeah, he is. Is he single? Jade asked with a grin. Because if you're not interested, it's complicated, Claire cut her off, more sharply than she'd intended. She softened her tone. Very complicated. Jade raised her hands in surrender. Say no more. Complicated is my least favorite relationship status. Across the cafe, Emma was laughing at something Victor had said. Her whole face lit up with joy. Victor looked down at her with an expression of such raw tenderness that Claire had to look away. This was what she'd been afraid of. Not that Victor would fail to love Emma, but that he would love her so completely, so overwhelmingly, that he'd smother her with it, that his need to protect would become need to control, and Emma would end up just as trapped as Claire had been. Mama, look! Emma ran over with a chocolate chip cookie the size of her head. Victor bought the biggest one. That's very nice of him, Claire said, meeting Victor's eyes over Emma's head. But you know you're not supposed to accept expensive gifts from people. Emma's face fell. Victor's expression flickered with something, irritation maybe, at being contradicted, but he caught himself. Your mom's right, he said, walking over. I should have asked first. I'm sorry. The apology clearly cost him. Victor Kane didn't apologize, but he was learning. It's okay this time, Claire said, watching Emma's smile return. But next time, we ask Mama first. Deal? Deal, Emma agreed easily, already biting into the cookie. Victor sat down across from them, and for a moment they were quiet, just 3 people sharing a table on a rainy Thursday. It was almost normal. Almost. I need to talk to you, Victor said quietly, his voice pitched so Emma wouldn't hear. Alone. It's important. Claire's guard went up immediately. About what? Not here. Can you meet me tomorrow? I'll arrange for someone to watch Emma. No. The word was automatic. I don't leave her with strangers. Not a stranger. My sister. You remember Sophia. Claire did remember Sophia. Warm, funny, the only member of Victor's family who'd treated Claire like a person instead of an accessory. They'd been friends once, before Claire had disappeared. Sophia doesn't know about Emma, Claire said. She does now. I told her yesterday. Victor leaned forward slightly. Claire, she wants to meet her niece, and I need to discuss some things with you that Emma shouldn't hear. Every instinct told Claire to refuse, to keep her daughter close, to never let anyone from Victor's world near her. But Emma deserved family beyond just Claire, deserved aunts and cousins and birthday parties with more than 2 people, and Claire was so tired of doing everything alone. Fine, she said finally, but we meet somewhere public, and you tell me what this is about right now. Victor glanced at Emma, who was thoroughly occupied with her cookie. There's been some movement, people asking questions about you, about where you went. Claire's blood went cold. What kind of people? The kind you ran from. His voice was grim. Someone saw us together. Word got out that Claire Monroe is alive. And now there are people who want to know where you've been. Why you left. This is why I didn't want to come back, Claire hissed. This is exactly what I was afraid of. I know, but we can handle it. I can handle it. I just need you to trust me. Trust. That word again. Claire wanted to laugh or scream or grab Emma and run like she should have done the moment Victor walked into this cafe. But Emma was happy. For the first time in her young life, she had more than just Claire. She had Victor, and soon she'd have an aunt, and maybe eventually she'd have the family Claire had never been able to give her. "Tomorrow," Claire said. 2 o'clock. The park on Morrison. And Victor, if anything happens to her, nothing will happen to her. You have my word." His word. Once upon a time, that would have meant something to Claire. Now it was just another promise to be broken. That night, after Emma was asleep, Claire stood at the window of their tiny apartment and looked out at the city lights. Somewhere out there, people were asking questions. Somewhere out there, Victor's world was reaching toward hers. She'd been a fool to think she could stay hidden forever. The next afternoon, Sophia Kane arrived at Claire's apartment with a bright smile and designer bags full of gifts. She was older than Victor by 3 years, with the same dark hair and sharp features, but where Victor was all hard edges, Sophia had softness around the corners. "Claire," she said, pulling Claire into a hug before Claire could protest. "I can't believe it's really you. Victor thought—" "I know what everyone thought," Claire said, extricating herself gently. "I'm sorry I didn't reach out." "Are you kidding? After the way my brother acted?" Sophia waved a dismissive hand. "I would have run too. I'm just glad you're okay." Her eyes moved past Claire to where Emma was peeking out from behind the bedroom door. "And this must be the reason." Emma came forward slowly, studying Sophia with cautious curiosity. "Hi. Are you Victor's sister?" "I am, and that makes me your—" Sophia caught herself, glancing at Claire for permission. "Your friend. I'm your friend Sophia." Claire's throat was tight. "Aunt." Sophia had been about to say aunt, but Emma didn't know yet. Emma still thought Victor was just Mama's friend. "I brought you something," Sophia said, kneeling down to Emma's level. "Do you like puzzles?" Emma's eyes went wide. "I love puzzles." "Perfect. This one has 100 pieces. Think you can handle it?" They spent the next hour on the living room floor, Sophia and Emma working on the puzzle while Claire pretended to read a book, but really just watched them, watched Emma laugh, watched Sophia be gentle and patient and everything a good aunt should be, watched Emma have family. "She's wonderful," Sophia said when Emma went to the bathroom. "Claire, she's absolutely wonderful. Victor said she was perfect, but I thought he was exaggerating. He wasn't." "Thank you," Claire managed, "for being good with her." "Are you kidding? She's family." Sophia's voice dropped lower. "I know Victor told you there's been talk. People asking questions." "Yeah, he mentioned it. He's handling it. You know my brother. Once he decides something is his to protect, nothing gets through." Sophia paused. "And before you get that look on your face, I know what you're thinking, that he'll go overboard, that he'll turn into the man you ran from." Claire didn't deny it. "He's changed, Claire. I don't know how or why, but he has. Ever since you left, he's been different, quieter, more careful." Sophia met her eyes. "And now that he knows about Emma, he's terrified of messing this up. That's why he asked me to watch her today. He wants to talk to you about how to move forward without destroying what you've built. Or he wants to figure out how to control the situation." "Maybe," Sophia admitted, "but maybe he's genuinely trying. Isn't that worth finding out?" Emma came running back, and the conversation ended. Claire kissed her daughter goodbye, gave Sophia every emergency number she could think of, and left feeling like she was stepping off a cliff. The park was busy with afternoon joggers and young families. Claire found Victor sitting on a bench near the fountain, dressed down in jeans and a sweater that probably still cost more than her monthly rent, but at least he was trying. He stood when he saw her. "Thank you for coming." "Let's just get this over with." Claire sat down, keeping space between them. "You said people are asking questions. Who? And what do they know?" Victor sat beside her, careful not to crowd her space. "Marcus Reeves saw us at the cafe. You remember Marcus?" Claire did. Marcus Reeves had been one of Victor's business associates, and by business, she meant the kind of business that happened in back rooms and ended with people disappearing. "He saw Emma," Victor continued, "drew his own conclusions, started asking around about whether I'd been secretly married, had a kid I'd kept hidden." "And what did you tell him?" "Nothing. Yet." Victor's jaw tightened. "But Marcus isn't the type to let things go. He'll dig. And when he finds out you've been gone for 4 years, that the timeline matches Emma's age, he'll know you didn't know about her," Claire finished. "He'll know I ran." "Yes. And that opens a whole different set of questions. Why did you run? What are you afraid of? What secrets are you hiding that made you disappear? Claire's hands clenched in her lap. I'm not hiding secrets. I was hiding from you. I know that. You know that. But Marcus doesn't. And there are other people in my world who might see this as leverage. A way to get to me through you. Through Emma. The fear was sharp and immediate. This is exactly what I was afraid of. This is why I left. I know, Victor said quietly. And I'm sorry. I'm sorry that my life, my choices, put you in danger. But running isn't an option anymore. They know you exist. They know Emma exists. We have to deal with this. We? Claire turned to face him. There is no we, Victor. There's me trying to protect my daughter from your world. Our daughter. And like it or not, my world is coming whether you want it to or not. So we can either face it together, or you can keep pretending you can do this alone until something happens that proves you can't. Claire wanted to argue, wanted to insist she'd kept Emma safe for 4 years without his help. But the truth was, she'd kept Emma safe by being invisible, by being no one, nowhere, nothing worth noticing. That invisibility was gone now. What do you want from me? She asked finally. Victor pulled out his phone and showed her a photo. It was a house, not a mansion, not some monument to wealth. Just a normal, beautiful house in a quiet neighborhood. 3 bedrooms, a backyard with a swing set, a porch with a rocking chair. I want you and Emma to live here, he said. It's in a good neighborhood, good schools, fully secured but discreetly. No obvious bodyguards, no armored cars, just good locks, cameras, and a panic room that looks like a closet. Claire stared at the photo. You want to buy me a house? I want to keep my daughter safe. This is how I do that. By controlling where we live? By putting us in a house you own with your security under your watch? By giving Emma a real home instead of a 1-bedroom apartment where she sleeps on a mattress on the floor? Victor's voice rose, frustration breaking through. He caught himself, lowered his tone. I'm not trying to control you, Claire. I'm trying to help. It's the same thing with you. Help. Control. You don't see the difference. Then tell me the difference. Explain it to me like I'm stupid, because apparently I am when it comes to this. Claire looked at him, really looked at him, saw the tension in his shoulders, the exhaustion around his eyes. He looked like a man who'd been fighting a battle he didn't know how to win. The difference, she said slowly, is choice. Help is offering options. Control is deciding for someone else what's best for them. Fine. I'm offering you an option. Live in the house or don't, but at least let me upgrade the security on your apartment. Let me put someone nearby who can respond if something happens. A bodyguard. A precaution. For Emma or for you? Claire challenged. Are you protecting her, or are you just trying to keep tabs on us? Victor was silent for a long moment. When he spoke, his voice was raw. I spent 4 years thinking you were dead. 4 years of wondering what I could have done differently, what I should have seen, if I could have saved you. He looked at her, and there was genuine pain in his eyes. And now I find out you weren't dead. You were just gone. You were alive and carrying my child and choosing poverty over me. Do you have any idea what that feels like? Do you have any idea what it felt like to be with you? Claire shot back. To love someone who couldn't tell the difference between protecting you and owning you? I'm trying to learn the difference. That's why I'm asking instead of telling. That's why I brought you options instead of just moving you into that house. I'm trying, Claire. And he was. She could see it in the careful way he phrased things, the way he held himself back from giving orders. Victor Kane was trying to be someone different, and it was clearly killing him. But trying wasn't enough, not when Emma's safety was at stake. I need guarantees, Claire said, real ones, not just promises. Name them. The security can't interfere with Emma's normal life. No one follows her to school, no one watches her at the playground, just monitoring the apartment, keeping an eye out for threats. Victor nodded. Done. I make all decisions about where we live, where she goes to school, what activities she does. You can have input, but I have final say. His jaw tightened, but he nodded again. Agreed. And if I say we need space, you give it to us. No questions, no arguments. You back off when I ask. That one was harder for him. She could see him struggling with it, the need to protect warring with the need to respect her boundaries. How will I know you're safe? He asked. You won't. That's the point. You have to trust that I can take care of my daughter without your constant supervision. Our daughter, he corrected quietly. And what about the house? Will you at least consider it? Claire looked at the photo again. It was beautiful. The kind of place she used to dream about before her dreams got small enough to fit in a one-bedroom apartment. I'll think about it, she said. But Victor, if this is some backdoor way of controlling us, it's not. I swear to you, it's not. He put his phone away. I just want Emma to have what she deserves. A real bedroom, a yard to play in, friends in a safe neighborhood. She has friends. From an apartment complex where you're afraid to let her play outside alone? Victor's voice was gentle but pointed. Claire, I know you've done everything you can. I know you've sacrificed everything to give her a good life, but you don't have to do it alone anymore. Let me help, please. The please broke something in her. Victor Kane didn't say please, didn't ask, didn't show vulnerability. I'll think about the house, Claire said again. But we're not moving in right away. I need to see that you can respect the boundaries we've set. I need to see that you're serious about this. I am serious, deadly serious. Then prove it. Show me you can give Emma what she needs without turning her life into a fortress. Victor stood, and Claire stood with him. They faced each other across the space between them, 4 years of hurt and anger and unfinished business hanging in the air. I will prove it, he said. I'll prove I can be what she needs, what you both need. We don't need you, Claire said, but there was less conviction in it than before. We're fine on our own. Fine isn't the same as good. Fine isn't the same as safe. He reached out like he might touch her arm, then thought better of it. Let me make things better. Let me try. Claire wanted to say no. Wanted to grab Emma from Sophia and run again, disappear into a new city with a new name. But she was tired. Tired of running, tired of struggling, tired of watching Emma draw pictures of families with fathers and knowing she'd stolen that from her. Okay, she said finally. You can try. But Victor, one mistake. One time you cross the line, one time you make me feel controlled instead of supported, and we're done. Forever. I understand. Do you? Because this isn't a business deal. This isn't something you can negotiate or manipulate. This is our daughter's life. Her happiness. Her freedom. I know, Victor said, and there was something broken in his voice. I know what's at stake. I won't screw this up. I can't. They walked back toward the parking area in silence. Claire's mind was racing, already second-guessing her decision. But what choice did she have? Victor was right. The invisibility that had kept them safe was gone. They needed protection now, whether she liked it or not. I want to tell her, Victor said as they reached his car. About me. About being her father. Claire stopped walking. Not yet. Claire, she's 4 years old. She needs time to understand what that means. We can't just drop it on her. Every day I wait is another day I'm lying to her. You're not lying. You're being her friend, building a relationship so that when we do tell her, it means something. Victor leaned against his car, frustration evident in every line of his body. How long? I don't know, a few more weeks, a month. When she's comfortable with you. When you've proven you can be in her life without disrupting it. And if I prove it, if I show you I can respect your boundaries and be what she needs, then we tell her together, Claire said, and we deal with whatever comes after. Victor nodded slowly, accepting her terms even though she could see it was killing him. Every paternal instinct probably screamed at him to claim his daughter, to make sure everyone knew she was his, but he was holding back. For Emma. Maybe even for Claire. There's one more thing, Victor said. Marcus Reeves. I need to deal with him before he causes problems. Claire's stomach dropped. Deal with him how? Not like that, Victor said quickly, reading her expression. I'm not going to hurt him. I'm just going to make it clear that you and Emma are off limits, that there are no secrets to find, no leverage to gain, that your past is just that, past. And if he doesn't accept that, Victor's expression went cold. Then I'll make him accept it. There it was. The man Claire had run from, the one who solved problems with threats and force. No, she said firmly. No intimidation, no violence, nothing that puts Emma at risk by association. Claire, he's not going to just find another way. Talk to him like a human being. Offer him something he wants more than information about us. But you don't threaten him. You don't make this into a war. Victor stared at her like she'd asked him to fly. That's not how my world works. Then change your world, or at least change how you operate in it. Claire stepped closer, her voice intense. You want to be Emma's father? Then be someone she can be proud of. Be someone who solves problems without violence. Be better than what you were. You're asking me to change everything about who I am. No. I'm asking you to remember who you were before you became this. Before the empire, before the fear, when you were just Victor, not Victor Kane. He looked away, jaw working. When he spoke, his voice was rough. That person doesn't exist anymore. Then create him again, for Emma, for yourself. Claire's voice softened. I've seen glimpses of him, Victor, in the cafe with Emma, in the way you've tried to respect my boundaries. He's still in there somewhere. And if he's not, then we're done. Because I won't let Emma grow up thinking your way is the only way. Victor was silent for a long moment. Finally, he pushed off from the car. I'll handle Marcus without threats. I'll find another way. Promise me. I promise. Claire searched his face for signs of deception, but found only exhausted sincerity. Okay, I should get back to Emma. Will you bring her to the cafe on Tuesday? If Sophia says today went well, yes. Something like relief crossed Victor's face. It will have. Sophia loves kids, and Emma is... He stopped, struggling with emotion. She's everything. Claire's throat was tight. Yeah, she is. She turned to go, but Victor's voice stopped her. Claire, thank you for giving me this chance. I know I don't deserve it. You don't, Claire agreed. But Emma deserves a father, so don't make me regret this. She walked away before he could respond, before the complicated mess of emotions in her chest could spill out. Anger and fear and a tiny, dangerous spark of hope that maybe, just maybe, Victor could become someone different, someone who could be part of their lives without destroying them. When Claire got back to the apartment, she found Emma and Sophia sitting on the couch, finishing the puzzle. Emma was chattering away about her favorite foods, her stuffed animals, her best friend from the apartment complex. Sophia looked up when Claire entered, and something passed between them. Understanding, recognition that they were both trying to build something fragile and precious from broken pieces. We had a great time, Sophia said, standing. Emma was telling me all about her drawings. I showed her the family one, Emma announced proudly. Claire's heart skipped. Did you? Sophia said some families have lots of people and some have just a few, and they're all good families as long as people love each other. That's exactly right, Claire said, shooting Sophia a grateful look. After Sophia left with promises to visit again soon, Claire helped Emma get ready for bed. Her daughter was unusually quiet, processing the day's events. Mama, Emma said as Claire tucked her in, do you think Victor could be in our family? The question knocked the air from Claire's lungs. What makes you ask that? I like him. He's nice, and he looks a little bit like me. Emma touched her own nose. See? Same nose. Claire looked at her daughter's face. Victor's eyes. Victor's stubborn chin. Even the way she tilted her head when thinking was pure Kane genetics. Would you like Victor to be part of our family? Claire asked carefully. Emma thought about it with the seriousness of a child making an important decision. Yeah, I think so. If he wants to be. I think he would like that very much. Good. Emma yawned, already drifting off. Love you, Mama. Love you too, baby. Claire sat in the dark long after Emma fell asleep, thinking about houses and families, and the impossibility of keeping the past buried forever. Somewhere across the city, Victor was probably doing the same thing, both of them trying to figure out how to build a future from the wreckage of what they'd been. It should have been impossible, but watching Emma sleep, peaceful and happy and loved, Claire thought maybe impossible was just another word for difficult. And she'd done difficult things before. She could do this. She had to. The call came at 3 a.m, shattering the fragile peace Claire had built over the past month. She fumbled for her phone in the darkness, heart already racing before she saw Victor's name on the screen. What's wrong? She answered, voice rough with sleep and fear. Get Emma and get out. Now. Victor's voice was tight with controlled urgency. Pack what you need and go to Sophia's. I'm sending a car. Claire was already out of bed, moving toward Emma's room. What happened? Marcus Reeves didn't take my conversation as well as I'd hoped. He made some calls, asked questions to people who shouldn't be asking questions. A pause, heavy with meaning. Someone tried to access your apartment building 20 minutes ago. Security footage shows two men asking the night guard about you. Ice flooded Claire's veins. Are they still there? No, the guard didn't give them anything, and they left. But Claire, they know where you live. They know about Emma. She was in Emma's room now, looking down at her sleeping daughter. 4 years. 4 years of keeping her safe, and it had all fallen apart in 4 weeks. This is your fault, Claire hissed into the phone, keeping her voice low. This is exactly what I was afraid of. I know, and I'm sorry. But we can argue about blame later. Right now, you need to move. Claire wanted to scream at him, wanted to throw the phone and grab Emma and run to somewhere Victor Kane would never find them. But she'd learned enough in the past month to know that running wasn't an option anymore, not when people were actively looking. The car will be there in 5 minutes, Victor continued. Pack light, just essentials. Everything else, I'll replace. I don't want you to replace anything. I want my daughter to be safe. That's what I'm trying to do. Please, Claire, trust me. Trust. That impossible word again. But what choice did she have? 5 minutes, she said, and ended the call. Emma barely woke as Claire dressed her, murmuring sleepy protests as Claire pulled a jacket over her pajamas. Claire moved through the apartment like a ghost, grabbing documents from the fireproof box under her bed, stuffing clothes into a duffel bag, her hands shaking the entire time. This was what she'd been afraid of. This exact scenario. Victor's world reaching out with violent hands, threatening everything she'd built. The car was waiting when they got downstairs, a sleek black SUV with tinted windows. The driver was a woman in her 30s, professional and calm. Miss Monroe? I'm Rachel. Mr. Kane sent me to take you somewhere safe. Claire clutched Emma tighter. Her daughter was awake now, confused and frightened by the urgency. Mama, what's happening? We're going on an adventure, Claire said, her voice steadier than she felt. To Aunt Sophia's house. Won't that be fun? Emma wasn't buying it. She was too smart for that. But she nodded anyway, trusting her mother even when nothing made sense. The drive to Sophia's took 20 minutes through empty streets. Claire spent the entire time looking over her shoulder, watching for cars that followed too long, for shadows that moved wrong. Emma dozed against her side, small and vulnerable, and completely dependent on Claire to keep her safe, a job Claire was currently failing at. Sophia was waiting at the door when they arrived, still in her robe, concern etched on her face. Come in, quickly. The house was beautiful, modern and spacious, the kind of place Claire used to dream about, but she barely registered it as Sophia led them to a guest room already prepared with fresh sheets and a nightlight. Victor called, Sophia said quietly as Claire settled Emma into bed. He told me what happened. Did he tell you it's his fault? Claire's voice was sharp with exhausted anger. That if he'd just stayed away, none of this would be happening. He knows. Believe me, he knows. Sophia touched Claire's arm gently. But you're safe here. No one knows about this house except family. And Victor's handling the situation. Handling it how? Sophia's expression darkened. You don't want to know. Yes, I do. Because if he's doing what I think he's doing, he's not. He promised you he wouldn't use violence, and he's keeping that promise. But Claire, there are other ways to make problems disappear. Claire thought about that, about the power Victor wielded, the fear his name inspired. She'd seen it before. People who crossed Victor Kane tended to find their businesses mysteriously failing, their secrets suddenly exposed, their lives falling apart in ways that couldn't be traced back to him. Legal, maybe. But no less terrifying. I can't do this, Claire whispered. I can't live like this. Always looking over my shoulder, always afraid someone's going to hurt her to get to him. Then don't. Sophia's voice was kind but firm. Take the house Victor offered. Let him provide real security. Stop fighting him on every protective measure, and let him do what he does best. Control everything? Keep people safe. Sophia pulled Claire toward the door, lowering her voice so Emma wouldn't hear. I know my brother. I know what he was like with you before, how he suffocated you with his need to protect, but Claire, this is different. This isn't about controlling you. This is about actual threats from actual dangerous people. The people wouldn't be a threat if Victor hadn't told everyone I existed. Maybe. Or maybe they would have found you anyway. You can't stay invisible forever, not in the digital age. At least this way, you have resources to fight back. Claire looked through the doorway at Emma, already asleep again, oblivious to the danger swirling around her. I just want her to have a normal life. I know, but normal isn't always safe, and right now, safe has to come first. Claire spent what was left of the night sitting in a chair by Emma's bed, watching her daughter sleep, thinking about choices and consequences. Dawn was breaking when her phone buzzed with a text from Victor. Situation contained. They won't be back. Can I see you both today? She should have said no. Should have taken Emma and found another city, another life, another chance at invisibility. But Claire was tired. Tired of running, tired of struggling, tired of doing everything alone. She texted back, Sophia's house, noon, we need to talk. Victor arrived exactly at noon, looking like he hadn't slept. There were shadows under his eyes, tension in his shoulders that spoke of a long night dealing with threats Claire didn't want to imagine. Sophia took Emma to the backyard, leaving Claire and Victor alone in the living room. They stood on opposite sides of the coffee table like opponents in a ring. Tell me what you did, Claire demanded. Victor ran a hand through his hair. I found out who sent them, called in some favors, made it clear that pursuing this line of inquiry would be extremely detrimental to their interests. That's vague. It's supposed to be. You said you didn't want to know the details. I changed my mind. What did you threaten them with? Claire, what did you threaten them with? Her voice rose. Because my daughter, our daughter, was pulled out of bed at 3 a.m. because of your world. I deserve to know what you did to fix it. Victor's jaw tightened. I didn't threaten anyone. I simply made some information available to certain parties who had an interest in it. Information that proved pursuing you would cause more problems than it solved. What kind of information? The kind that makes powerful men nervous, financial irregularities, connections to people they'd rather not be connected to. Nothing illegal on my part, just strategic release of facts. Claire processed that. You blackmailed them. I incentivized them to leave you alone. That's the same thing. No, it's not. Blackmail implies I demanded something. I simply ensured they understood the consequences of their actions. Victor stepped closer. And before you lecture me about it, I do it again. I do worse. Anyone who threatens Emma, who threatens you, will find out exactly what I'm capable of. There it was. The man Claire had run from. The one who saw people as pieces on a board, who moved them around until he got what he wanted. But there was something else there, too. Fear. Real, genuine fear that something might happen to Emma. This can't keep happening, Claire said quietly. I can't live like this. Emma can't grow up like this. I know. That's why you need to take the house. Let me set up proper security. Let me protect you both the right way. The right way? Victor, there is no right way to live in a fortress. It's not a fortress. It's a home with good security, cameras, alarms, a guard who patrols but doesn't interfere. Emma would never even notice most of it. Claire wanted to argue, wanted to insist she could protect Emma on her own. But last night had proved that was a lie. She couldn't protect her daughter from men with resources and connections, from people who saw Emma as leverage or a liability. She needed help. She needed Victor's resources, his connections, his ability to make threats disappear. She just didn't want to need any of it. If I agree, she said slowly, I need guarantees. Real ones. Name them. Emma's life stays normal. She goes to regular school, has regular friends, does regular activities. No private security following her around making her feel like a target. Victor nodded. Agreed. The security will be invisible to her. And you don't make decisions about her without consulting me. Not about where she goes, who she sees, what she does. We decide together. Agreed. And we tell her the truth about you being her father, because I won't live in a house you're providing while lying to her about who you are. That one made Victor pause. Claire could see the emotion work across his face. Hope, fear, desperate need. When? He asked hoarsely. Soon. This week. Before we move into the house. She deserves to know why her whole life is changing. Victor nodded, not trusting himself to speak. And one more thing, Claire added. You proved to me that you can handle this without turning into the man I left. That means no more blackmail, no more threats, no more solving problems with fear. You find other ways. Legal ways. Or I take Emma and disappear, and this time you won't find us. Claire, I can't just... Yes, you can. You're smart enough, powerful enough, connected enough to solve problems without resorting to intimidation. You just have to want to. And if the only way to keep Emma safe is to do something you don't approve of, Claire met his eyes. Then you call me first. You tell me what you're planning and why. And we decide together. Partnership, Victor. Not you making unilateral decisions about our safety. He stared at her for a long moment. You're asking me to change everything about how I operate. I'm asking you to be a father instead of a crime boss. To think about what Emma needs from you. Not protection at any cost, but a dad who solves problems without violence. Who shows her there's another way. What if there isn't another way? Then you find one. Or you walk away and let us live our lives in peace. The silence between them was heavy with years of hurt and current fear. Finally, Victor spoke, his voice raw. I can't walk away. Not from her, not anymore. Then change. Really change. Not just promises. Show me the man you could be if you weren't so afraid of losing control. Victor looked toward the window where they could see Sophia and Emma playing in the yard. Emma was laughing, chasing butterflies, completely unaware that her entire world was about to shift. Okay, he said quietly. I'll try. I'll really try. Trying isn't enough. You have to succeed. Then I'll succeed. He turned back to Claire. For her, I'll become anyone I need to be. The conviction in his voice made Claire want to believe him, want to think that Victor Kane could actually change, that love for his daughter could transform him into someone different. But Claire had learned the hard way that wanting something didn't make it true. We tell Emma on Saturday, she said, at the house, so she can see where we'll be living. You, me, and Sophia. We do it together, and we answer whatever questions she has honestly. Victor's hands were shaking slightly. What if she hates me? What if she doesn't want me as her father? Then you respect that and give her time. You don't push, you don't force, you don't try to buy her affection. You let her process it in her own way. And if she never accepts me? Claire's voice softened. She will. Emma has a huge heart. She's already attached to you as a friend. Learning you're her father will be a shock, but Victor, she's been drawing pictures of families with dads for years. She wants this. You just have to not screw it up. That pulled a laugh from him, rough and a little desperate. No pressure then. Welcome to parenthood. It's all pressure. They stood there, the weight of impending revelations settling over them. Outside, Emma shrieked with delight as Sophia caught her in a hug, spinning her around. The sound of her daughter's joy made Claire's chest ache. I'm scared, Victor admitted quietly. I faced down armed men, corporate takeovers, federal investigations. But the thought of telling that little girl I'm her father terrifies me. Good, Claire said. That means you understand what's at stake. Her happiness, her trust, her entire perception of who she is. Exactly. Victor watched Emma for another moment. What do I say? How do I explain why I wasn't there? Why she's 4 years old and just meeting me now? You tell her the truth, that I left before she was born because I was scared, that you didn't know about her, that now that you do know, you want to be the best father you can be. She'll have questions about why you were scared, and we'll answer them age appropriately. We don't lie, but we don't give her more than she can handle. Claire moved to stand beside him at the window. Victor, she's 4. She's not going to understand the complicated history between us. She just needs to know that both her parents love her and want what's best for her. Do you think she'll believe that? That I love her? Claire looked at him, really looked at him, saw the fear and hope and desperate need written across his face. Saw a man who'd built an empire on being untouchable, learning what it meant to be vulnerable. She'll believe it if you show her. Love isn't words, Victor. It's actions. It's showing up. It's being patient. It's putting her needs before your own. I don't know how to do that. Then learn. You have time, the rest of her life, if you don't screw this up. Victor turned to face her fully. I won't. I swear to you, Claire. I won't let her down. Don't swear to me. Swear to yourself. Make yourself a promise that you'll be better than what you were, that you'll be the father she deserves. I promise, he said, and it sounded like a vow. I promise I'll be what she needs. The days between that conversation and Saturday moved too fast and too slow simultaneously. Claire packed their belongings, sorting through 4 years of accumulated life, deciding what was worth keeping and what could be left behind. Emma helped, excited about the big new house, without understanding why they were moving. Sophia visited daily, helping pack and offering emotional support Claire hadn't known she needed. They talked while Emma played, honest conversations about Victor, about the past, about the impossible task of co-parenting with a man Claire didn't fully trust. "He's really trying," Sophia said one afternoon, wrapping dishes in newspaper. "I know it doesn't look like it from the outside, but Victor is terrified. I've never seen him like this." Terrified of what? That Emma won't accept him? Terrified that he'll mess this up, that he'll turn into our father. Sophia paused, choosing her words carefully. "Our dad wasn't a good man, Claire. He was cruel and controlling and violent. Victor swore he'd never be like him, but then he built this empire, and somewhere along the way, he became everything he hated." Claire had never heard this before. Victor rarely spoke about his father. What happened to him? Died when Victor was 23? Heart attack? Victor took over the business, legitimized most of it, expanded what was left. But the methods, the control, the fear, those came from our father, and Victor's been trying to unlearn them ever since. Not very successfully. No, Sophia agreed, but he's never had a reason to really try before. You leaving shook him. Finding out about Emma broke him. This is his chance to be someone different. And if he can't be? Sophia met her eyes. Then you do what you have to do to protect Emma. But Claire, give him a real chance. Don't let the past poison what could be. Saturday arrived with clear skies and Claire's nerves stretched to breaking point. The house was perfect, exactly as it had looked in the photos, but better. Warm, welcoming, the kind of place where children could grow up happy. Emma ran through the rooms with Sophia, exclaiming over the backyard, the bedroom that would be hers, the kitchen with its big windows. Victor watched from the doorway, drinking in every moment of his daughter's joy. "Ready?" Claire asked him quietly. He looked terrified. "No, but let's do it anyway." They called Emma into the living room. She came bounding in, all energy and excitement, and plopped down on the couch between Claire and Sophia. Victor sat across from them, perched on the edge of an armchair like he might need to run. "Emma, sweetheart," Claire started, her voice gentle. "We need to talk to you about something important." Emma's face scrunched with worry. "Am I in trouble?" "No, baby, not at all. We just have something to tell you about Victor." Emma looked at Victor with open curiosity. "What about him?" Claire took a deep breath. "Do you remember how you've been drawing pictures of families with a mama and a dad?" "Yeah, and how you've sometimes wondered what it would be like to have a father." Emma was getting quieter now, sensing the weight of the moment. Claire reached for Emma's hand. "Well, sweetheart, you do have a father. You've always had one. He just didn't know about you until recently." Emma's eyes went wide. "Really? Where is he?" "He's right here," Claire said gently, nodding toward Victor. "Victor is your father, Emma." The silence that followed felt endless. Emma looked at Victor, then at Claire, then back at Victor. Her small face was working through complex emotions, confusion, surprise, hope. "You're my dad?" she asked Victor directly, her voice small. Victor's voice was rough with emotion. "Yes, I'm your dad." "Where were you? Why didn't you come before?" Claire squeezed Emma's hand. "That's my fault, baby. I left before you were born, and I didn't tell Victor about you. He didn't know you existed until he saw us at the cafe." Emma processed this with the logic of a 4-year-old. "So you didn't leave me on purpose? You just didn't know about me?" Victor slid off the chair and onto his knees in front of Emma, bringing himself to her level. "I didn't know. But Emma, if I had known, I would have been there from the very beginning. I would have been at the hospital when you were born. I would have been there for your first steps, your first words, everything." "But you weren't," Emma said, matter-of-factly. "No. And I'm sorry. I'm so sorry I missed all of that." Emma studied him with those two wise eyes. "Do you want to be my dad now? More than anything in the world? Even though I'm already 4? Victor's laugh was thick with tears he was trying not to shed. "Even though you're already 4. Emma, you're perfect, and I know I have a lot to learn about being a dad, but I promise I'll try my hardest. If you'll let me." Emma was quiet for a long moment, thinking it over with the seriousness of a child making a life-changing decision. Then she looked at Claire. "Is it okay if he's my dad?" Claire's throat was tight. "Of course it's okay, baby. I think it's wonderful." "Will we still be just us sometimes? Just you and me?" "Always. Nothing about us changes. We're just adding someone to our family." Emma nodded slowly, then looked back at Victor. Okay, you can be my dad, but I don't know how to have a dad, so you have to be patient with me. Victor's control finally broke. Tears spilled down his face as he reached for Emma's hand. I'll be so patient. I promise. Emma studied him with concern. Are you sad? No, sweetheart. I'm happy. So happy I get to be your dad. Then why are you crying? Sometimes people cry when they're really, really happy. Emma seemed to accept this. Can I call you Dad? Victor actually sobbed at that, a sound of pure joy and relief. You can call me whatever you want. I think I'll call you Dad, Emma decided, because that's what you are. She launched herself off the couch and into Victor's arms, wrapping her small body around him in a fierce hug. Victor held her like she was the most precious thing in the world, his face buried in her hair, his shoulders shaking. Claire watched them, tears streaming down her own face. Sophia was crying too, pressing a tissue to her eyes. This was what she'd been afraid of, not that Victor would be a bad father, but that he'd be too much of one, that he'd love Emma so completely it would consume her. But watching them together, Claire thought maybe that kind of love was exactly what Emma needed, what they both needed. After a moment, Emma pulled back and looked at Victor seriously. I have some rules if you're going to be my dad. Victor couldn't help but laugh. Okay, what are your rules? You have to come to my tea parties when I have them. I can do that. And you can't be grumpy if I wake you up early. Noted? And you have to love my mama too, because she's the best and I don't want her to be sad. That one landed like a punch. Victor's eyes went to Claire's over Emma's head. Your mama's pretty amazing. I'll do my best. Emma seemed satisfied with this. Okay, you can be my dad now. Just like that, with a child's simple acceptance, everything changed. Victor was no longer just Claire's dangerous ex-husband, no longer just the man she'd run from. He was Emma's father, part of their family, for better or worse. The rest of the afternoon was spent exploring the house, Emma showing Dad all the things she loved about her new room, Victor following her around like she was the sun, and he was learning to orbit around her instead of the other way around. As the sun set and Sophia took Emma outside to look at the garden, Claire and Victor stood in the kitchen, the weight of what had just happened settling over them. Thank you, Victor said quietly, for telling her, for giving me this. Don't thank me yet, the hard part is just beginning. I know, but Claire, I meant what I said. I'm going to be what she needs, whatever it takes. Good, because she's going to need you to be strong and gentle, protective but not controlling. She's going to need you to show her that power and kindness aren't opposites. I'll try. Don't try. Do it. Claire's voice was firm. Because Emma deserves the best version of you, Victor. Not the man you've been, but the man you could be. He met her eyes, and there was steel in his voice when he answered. Then that's who I'll become. For her, I'll become anyone. Through the window, they could see Emma laughing, spinning in circles with her arms out, completely carefree. A child who just gained a father and had no idea yet what that would mean. Claire just hoped Victor could become the father Emma deserved, not the man Claire had run from. Only time would tell. The first real test came 3 weeks after they moved into the house. Claire was in the kitchen preparing breakfast when Emma ran in, tears streaming down her face. Mama, I fell and my knee hurts. Claire was already moving, but Victor beat her there. He swept Emma up, examining the scraped knee with gentle hands that seemed impossible for a man who'd built an empire on fear. It's okay, sweetheart. Just a little scrape. Let's get you cleaned up. Claire watched as Victor carried Emma to the bathroom, talking to her in that soft voice he reserved only for his daughter, distracting her from the pain with questions about the butterfly she'd been chasing. He cleaned the wound carefully, applied antiseptic with steady hands, and covered it with a bandage that had cartoon characters on it. All better, he declared, kissing the top of Emma's head. You're very brave. It still hurts a little, Emma admitted, sniffling. I know, but brave people feel pain too. They just don't let it stop them. Victor set her down gently. Think you can be brave for me? Emma nodded, wiping her eyes. Can I still go to Maya's birthday party? Of course. A scraped knee isn't going to keep you from cake and presents. Emma hugged him fiercely before running off to find her shoes. Victor stood slowly, finding Claire watching from the doorway. What? He asked. Nothing. You were good with her. She's my daughter. Of course I was good with her. but Claire could see the tension in his shoulders, the way his hands shook slightly. Victor was terrified of making mistakes, of doing the wrong thing, of being the father he'd never had. "You're overthinking it," Claire said gently. "Parenting isn't about being perfect. It's about showing up." "I want to be perfect for her." "Nobody's perfect, not me, not you. Emma doesn't need perfect. She needs present." Victor leaned against the doorframe, exhaustion evident in his face. "I don't know how you did this alone for 4 years. I've been at it for 3 weeks, and I'm already terrified I'm going to mess her up." "Welcome to parenthood," Claire said with a slight smile. "The fear never goes away. You just learn to function through it." "How comforting." "It's honest." Claire moved closer, her voice lowering. "But Victor, you're doing well. Better than I expected, honestly." "High praise," he said dryly. "I mean it. You've respected the boundaries we set. You haven't tried to control everything. You've let Emma set the pace." Claire paused. "I know how hard that must be for you." Victor's laugh was humorless. "You have no idea. Every instinct tells me to wrap her in bubble wrap and never let her out of my sight. But I'm learning to breathe through it." "Good. Because Maya's party is at a public park with 20 other 4-year-olds running around like maniacs. You're going to have to let her be a normal kid." The muscle in Victor's jaw tightened. "I know. Do you? Because if you show up with bodyguards or try to follow her around the playground, I won't." He cut her off, but not unkindly. "I promised you I'd let her live normally. I'm keeping that promise." Claire studied him, looking for signs of deception, but found only tired sincerity. "Okay, I'm trusting you. I know what that cost you. I won't waste it." The party was exactly as chaotic as Claire had predicted. 20 children hopped up on sugar, running wild through the park, while exhausted parents tried to maintain some semblance of order. Emma disappeared into the fray immediately, her scraped knee forgotten in the excitement of seeing her friends. Victor stood at the edge of the pavilion, hands shoved in his pockets, watching Emma with the intensity of a man tracking a target. Claire could see him cataloging every potential danger: the pond 50 yards away, the older kids playing too rough near the swings, the stranger walking their dog past the playground. "She's fine," Claire said quietly, coming to stand beside him. "There are too many variables, too many things that could go wrong. That's life with kids. You can't control every variable." "I can try." "No, you can't. That's the whole point." Claire touched his arm lightly. "Victor, you have to let go a little, not of caring, not of being protective, but of thinking you can prevent every possible bad thing from happening. What if something happens because I didn't prevent it? Then we deal with it. Together. That's what co-parenting means." Victor was quiet for a long moment, watching Emma climb the jungle gym with 3 other girls. "I never thought I'd have this. A daughter, a family, a chance to be something other than what I am." "You still are what you are," Claire said honestly. "But you're learning to be more than that too." "Am I? Or am I just hiding it better?" The question was raw, vulnerable in a way Victor rarely allowed himself to be. Claire turned to face him fully. "You tell me. When Emma asked you to have a tea party last week, what did you do?" "I sat in a chair too small for me and pretended to drink imaginary tea." "And when she wanted you to read the same bedtime story 3 nights in a row?" "I read it all 3 nights with different voices for the characters." "And when Marcus Reeves sent that message asking to meet?" Victor's expression hardened. "I ignored it, like you asked me to." "Did you want to respond?" "More than you know. Every instinct told me to shut him down permanently." "But you didn't." "No, because Emma was in the next room practicing her ABCs, and I thought about what kind of man I want her to see me as." Victor's voice was rough. "So I deleted the message and went to help her with her letters instead." Claire felt something shift in her chest. This was what she'd been waiting for, proof that Victor could choose differently, that his love for Emma could change him in ways Claire's love never had. "That's who you're becoming," she said quietly, "not the man who responds to every threat with force, the man who chooses his daughter over his empire." "It's not that simple." "It never is, but you're trying. That's what matters." A shriek of laughter drew their attention. Emma was being chased by 2 boys, all 3 of them giggling wildly as they ran circles around the playground equipment. She was completely, perfectly happy. She's amazing, Victor said, and there was wonder in his voice. How did we make something so perfect? We didn't. She made herself. Claire smiled slightly. We just get to witness it. They stood there together, watching their daughter play, and for the first time since Victor had walked back into her life, Claire felt something like peace. Maybe this could work. Maybe they could build something functional from the broken pieces of what they'd been. The illusion lasted exactly 4 more days. Claire was at the grocery store with Emma when her phone rang. Sophia's name flashed on the screen. Hey, what's up? Where are you? Sophia's voice was tight with tension. Grocery shopping. Why? You need to go home. Now. Don't stop anywhere. Don't talk to anyone. Just get Emma and go straight home. Ice flooded Claire's veins. What happened? Victor will explain. Just please, Claire. Go home now. The drive back felt like it took hours instead of minutes. Emma chattered about the cookies they'd bought, oblivious to Claire's white-knuckled grip on the steering wheel. Claire kept checking the mirrors, looking for cars following them, for threats she couldn't name. Victor was waiting when they pulled into the driveway. He looked like he'd aged 10 years since morning. Emma, sweetie, Claire said, forcing her voice to stay calm. Why don't you go play in your room for a bit? Dad and I need to talk. Emma looked between them, picking up on the tension. Are you fighting? No, baby, just adult talk. Go on. Once Emma was safely upstairs, Claire rounded on Victor. What happened? Marcus Reeves is dead. The words hit like a physical blow. What? They found him this morning, shot twice in his car. Professional hit. Claire's mind was racing. And they think you did it. I didn't. Victor's voice was fierce. I swear to you, Claire, I had nothing to do with it. I've been handling him exactly like you asked, ignoring him, not engaging. But people won't believe that. They'll think exactly what they're supposed to think, that I silenced a problem. Victor ran both hands through his hair. Someone's setting me up. Someone who knows about Marcus's interest in you and Emma, who knows I'd be the obvious suspect. Who? I don't know yet. But Claire, this is bad. The police are going to come asking questions. Federal agents too, probably. And when they do, they're going to want to know about you, about why Marcus was so interested in finding you. Claire sank into a chair, her whole body shaking. This is what I was afraid of. This exact thing, your world destroying ours. I know. And I'm sorry, but we have to deal with what's in front of us. How? How do we deal with this? Victor knelt in front of her, taking her hands. First, you tell me the truth. All of it. Is there anything in your past, anything before you met me, that someone could use against you? No? I was nobody. A girl who catered parties and went to community college. I didn't have secrets until I had you. And when you left, did you do anything illegal? Steal money, forge documents, anything? I had a friend help me get new identification. She worked at the DMV. That's it. Victor processed this. Okay, that's manageable. The bigger problem is explaining why you left, why you hid Emma from me. I'll tell them the truth, that I was afraid, that you were controlling and I needed to get away. That makes me look worse. I don't care how you look, Claire shot back. I care about keeping Emma safe, and the truth is our best option. The truth is that I'm a crime boss who drove away the mother of his child because I couldn't tell the difference between love and possession, Victor said bitterly. That's not going to win me any sympathy. Maybe not, but it's honest. Claire squeezed his hands. Victor, if we start lying now, we'll never stop, and Emma deserves better than that. Before Victor could respond, the doorbell rang. They looked at each other, both knowing who it would be. Stay here, Victor said, standing. Let me handle this. No, we handle it together. Victor opened the door to find 2 federal agents standing on the porch, badges already out. Victor Kane? I'm Agent Martinez. This is Agent Chen. We need to ask you some questions about Marcus Reeves. Of course, come in. They settled in the living room, Claire and Victor on one couch, the agents across from them. Agent Martinez was older, weathered by years of investigating men like Victor. Agent Chen was younger, sharper, watching everything with analytical eyes. Mr. Kane, when was the last time you spoke to Marcus Reeves? Martinez asked. About 3 weeks ago. He called wanting to meet. I declined. And before that? About a month ago. We had a brief conversation about business matters. What kind of business matters? Victor's expression was carefully neutral. Marcus had questions about some mutual acquaintances. I answered what I could. Mutual acquaintances, Chen repeated, such as? This is where I need to clarify something, Victor said calmly. I'm happy to cooperate with your investigation, but I'm also aware of my rights. If you're treating me as a suspect rather than a witness, I should have my attorney present. Martinez smiled thinly. We're just having a conversation, Mr. Kane. A conversation that could easily turn into an interrogation. So let's establish some ground rules. I had nothing to do with Marcus Reeves's death. I have alibis for the entire morning, and while I understand why I might be a person of interest, I'm not going to inadvertently incriminate myself by speaking without counsel. Interesting response from an innocent man. Practical response from a man who's been investigated before. Victor's voice hardened. I know how this works. You're looking for someone to pin this on, and I'm the convenient target. But I didn't kill Marcus. I didn't order anyone to kill Marcus, and I had no reason to want him dead. Chen turned to Claire. And you are? Claire Monroe. I live here with my daughter. How long have you known Mr. Kane? Claire felt Victor tense beside her. About 5 years. We were together, then we weren't. We recently reconnected. Recently meaning? About 2 months ago. And during the time you weren't together, where were you? Various places. I moved around a lot. Why? This was it. The moment where Claire could lie, could spin some story that protected Victor and made her look less like a woman running from a dangerous man. But she'd told Victor the truth was their best option. Time to prove she meant it. I was afraid, Claire said simply. Our relationship had become unhealthy. I needed to get away. Martinez leaned forward. Unhealthy how? Victor was controlling. He monitored my movements, isolated me from friends, made decisions about my life without consulting me. I felt trapped. She could feel Victor's pain radiating beside her, but he didn't interrupt, didn't try to defend himself or minimize what she was saying. And you didn't think to file a restraining order, contact the police? Chen asked. Chen, I was afraid he wouldn't respect it. That legal action would just make things worse. Claire met Chen's eyes. So I disappeared, changed my name, lived off the grid, kept myself and my daughter safe. Your daughter, Martinez repeated. How old is she? 4. The agents exchanged glances. The math was obvious. Mr. Kane, did you know Miss Monroe was pregnant when she left? Martinez asked. No, Victor said quietly. I didn't find out about Emma until 2 months ago, when I ran into Claire by chance. That must have been quite a shock. It was the best and worst day of my life. Victor's voice was raw with honesty. Best because I discovered I had a daughter. Worst because I realized I'd lost 4 years I could never get back. And how did Marcus Reeves figure into this? Victor hesitated, clearly weighing how much to reveal. Marcus saw Claire and Emma with me. He was the type to look for leverage, information he could use. He started asking questions about where Claire had been, why I hadn't known about Emma. And you didn't like that, Chen said. Of course I didn't like it, but I handled it legally. I made it clear that Claire and Emma were off limits, that pursuing information about them would be a mistake. That sounds like a threat, Mr. Kane. It was a boundary. There's a difference. Martinez pulled out his phone and showed them a photo. This is a text message we recovered from Reeves's phone, from an unknown number sent 2 days before he died. It says, leave the Kane situation alone or face consequences. Want to tell us about that? Victor looked at the message, his expression genuinely confused. That's not from me. I never sent Marcus any threats. Can you prove that? Can you prove I did? Unknown number means exactly that. Unknown. Could be anyone. But you admit you warned Reeves to stay away from Miss Monroe and your daughter. In person, weeks ago. And it wasn't a threat. It was a request backed by the promise that I had information he wouldn't want released. Information about his business dealings, his financial irregularities, all legal on my part. Chen made notes. So you're saying someone else sent this text? Someone trying to frame you for Reeves's death? That's exactly what I'm saying. Who would want to do that? Victor's smile was cold. I've made a lot of enemies over the years, Agent Chen. Pick one. The questioning continued for another hour. The agents pressed, Victor deflected, and Claire told her story in stark, painful detail. When they finally left, with promises to be in touch, Claire felt like she'd been through a war. That went better than expected, Victor said, closing the door. Better? They basically accused you of murder. But they didn't arrest me, which means they don't have enough evidence to make anything stick. Victor moved to the window, watching the agent's car pull away. The question is, who sent that text? Who's trying to set me up? Does it matter? Someone's dead, Victor. Dead because they asked questions about us. Someone's dead because they made enemies who saw an opportunity to kill two birds with one stone. Get rid of Marcus and frame me for it. Claire felt sick. This is the world you live in. The world you brought us into. I know. Victor's voice was heavy with regret. And I'm sorry. But Claire, we're in it now. We can't go back. We can only move forward. How? How do we move forward from this? Before Victor could answer, Emma's small voice came from the stairs. Mama, are the police coming to arrest Dad? Claire's heart stopped. Emma, sweetie, how long have you been there? I heard voices. I got scared. Emma came down the stairs slowly, her face pinched with worry. Are they going to take Dad away? Victor crossed to her immediately, kneeling down to her level. No, sweetheart, they just had some questions. That's all. But you didn't do anything bad, right? Right, I promise you. I didn't do anything bad. Emma studied his face with those two observant eyes. Then why were they asking so many questions? Because sometimes, when bad things happen, the police have to talk to lots of people to figure out what happened. Even people who didn't do anything wrong. Oh. Emma seemed to accept this. Are we still safe? The question broke Claire's heart. Her 4-year-old daughter shouldn't have to ask if she was safe, shouldn't have to worry about police and investigations and danger. You're completely safe, Victor said firmly. I promise you, Emma, nothing bad is going to happen to you. What about you? Are you safe? Victor's expression softened. I'm safe too. We all are. Emma hugged him fiercely. Good, because I just got a dad. I don't want to lose him. Over Emma's head, Victor met Claire's eyes. There was pain there, and fear, and determination. You won't lose me, he promised. No matter what happens, I'm not going anywhere. After Emma went to bed, Claire found Victor in his home office, surrounded by papers and laptop screens. He looked exhausted. You should rest, she said from the doorway. Can't. I need to figure out who's behind this. Victor, they killed Marcus to frame me, Claire. Which means they know about you and Emma, which means you're in danger. He looked up at her. I can't rest until I know who we're dealing with. Claire came into the room, closing the door behind her. And when you find out, what then? Then I handle it. How? By doing exactly what they're accusing you of? By proving you're the man everyone thinks you are? By protecting my family? Victor's voice rose before he caught himself. I'm sorry, but Claire, someone is actively trying to destroy me, and they're using you and Emma to do it. I can't just sit back and let that happen. I'm not asking you to sit back. I'm asking you to think about what Emma needs from you right now. She needs her father present, not distracted by revenge or investigation. She needs her father alive and out of prison. She needs her father to be the man you promised you'd become, the one who solves problems without violence. Victor stared at her. How? How do I solve someone framing me for murder without fighting back? I don't know, but you figure it out. Because if you go down the path you're thinking about, you prove everyone right. You prove that you're exactly the man I ran from. The words hit like a slap. Victor stood abruptly, pacing to the window. I'm trying to be different. I'm trying to be what Emma needs. But Claire, there are limits to how much I can change. Some threats require force. No, some threats require intelligence, strategy, using the system instead of working outside it. The system that's trying to put me in prison for something I didn't do? The system you work within when you call your high-powered attorneys and use your connections and your money to prove your innocence. Claire moved closer. You have resources, Victor. Legal resources. Use them. He was quiet for a long moment, staring out at the dark yard. Finally, he spoke. What if legal means aren't enough? Then you make them enough. You find another way. Because the alternative is losing everything. Your freedom, your daughter, the chance to be better than what you were. Victor turned to face her. You really believe I can do this? Fight back without becoming a monster? I believe you can try. And I believe Emma deserves a father who tries. Something shifted in Victor's expression. The hard edges softened slightly. Okay, he said quietly. I'll do this your way. Legal channels, proper investigation. I'll let my attorneys handle it. Really? Really. Because you're right. Emma needs me here, not in prison or on the run. And if that means swallowing my pride and trusting the system I've spent years circumventing, then that's what I'll do. Claire felt relief wash through her. Thank you. Don't thank me yet. This could still blow up in our faces. I know, but at least we'll face it together, as a family. Victor crossed to her, stopping just short of touching. Is that what we are? A family? Claire thought about it. Thought about Emma upstairs sleeping peacefully because she trusted them to keep her safe. Thought about Victor, trying so hard to be different, to be better. Thought about herself, learning to trust again despite every instinct screaming at her to run. I think we're trying to be, she said finally, and maybe that's enough for now. Maybe, Victor agreed. But Claire, if we're doing this, really doing this, I need to know we're on the same page, that you're not just tolerating me for Emma's sake. I'm not tolerating you. I'm cautiously, carefully, terrifyingly giving you a chance to prove you've changed. And if I prove it, what then? Claire met his eyes. Then maybe we figure out what comes next, together. It wasn't a declaration of love. It wasn't forgiveness for the past or promises about the future, but it was possibility. And right now, possibility was more than either of them had dared to hope for. The investigation dragged on for 6 weeks. 6 weeks of Victor meeting with attorneys, of federal agents showing up at unexpected times, of Emma asking questions no 4-year-old should have to ask. But through it all, Victor kept his promise. He stayed present. He didn't disappear into his old world of threats and intimidation. He fought back legally, systematically, proving that Marcus Reeves's death had nothing to do with him. Claire watched him transform day by day. The man who'd once solved every problem with force learned to trust lawyers and evidence and process. It was painful for him. She could see it in the tension of his shoulders, the way his hands would clench when he wanted to take action, but forced himself to wait. But he was doing it. For Emma. For the chance to be someone different. The break came from an unexpected source. Victor's lead attorney, a sharp woman named Patricia Hernandez, discovered financial transfers from one of Victor's business rivals to an offshore account linked to the hitman who'd killed Marcus. The rival, a man named Thomas Garrett, had seen an opportunity to eliminate both a problematic associate and his biggest competitor in one move. We have him, Patricia announced, spreading documents across Victor's dining room table. The transfers, the communications, the timeline, everything points to Garrett orchestrating this to frame you. Victor studied the papers with an expression Claire couldn't quite read. How long until the feds see this? I'm meeting with them tomorrow morning. By afternoon, they should be redirecting their investigation. After Patricia left, Victor sat in silence, staring at the evidence that would clear his name. Claire found him there an hour later, Emma already asleep upstairs. You should be celebrating, she said. Should I? Victor looked up at her. Garrett's going to prison because I had better lawyers than he did. Because I could afford to dig deeper, investigate harder. The system worked for me because I have money and power. That's not justice, Claire. That's just another form of the same game I've been playing my whole life. Claire sat down beside him. But you played it differently this time. You didn't threaten Garrett. You didn't make him disappear. You used the legal system exactly like you promised you would. And if the evidence hadn't been there, if Patricia hadn't found those transfers, then we would have dealt with it, together. But Victor, you can't second-guess doing the right thing just because it worked out. He was quiet for a long moment. I keep waiting for the other shoe to drop, for some part of my old life to come back and destroy what we're building. It might. There are no guarantees. Claire reached for his hand. But you're not the same man you were when I left. That man would have handled this very differently. Would he? Or is he just hiding, waiting for the right moment to come back out? I don't know, Claire said honestly. I think that's something you'll have to keep choosing every day. Who you want to be. Who Emma needs you to be. Victor turned to look at her fully. And who do you need me to be? The question caught Claire off guard. She'd spent so much time thinking about what Emma needed, what was safe, what was right. She hadn't let herself think about what she wanted. I need you to be honest, she said finally, about who you are, who you were, and who you're trying to become. I need you to keep choosing us over everything else. And I need you to understand that I'm still learning to trust you, that it might take a long time. I can do that. Victor's voice was soft. I can be patient. Can you? Because, Victor, there's something I need to tell you, something I've been afraid to say. He tensed. What? Claire took a deep breath. I'm starting to see glimpses of the man I fell in love with, the one who existed before the Empire consumed him, and it terrifies me. Because I don't know if I can survive loving you and losing you again. Victor's expression was raw with emotion. You won't lose me. You don't know that. None of us know what's going to happen. Then let's figure it out together. He stood, pulling her up with him. Claire, I know I don't deserve another chance. I know I hurt you in ways I can't take back. But I'm asking anyway. Give me a real chance. Not just as Emma's father, but as someone who could be part of your life, your partner, your... Don't, Claire cut him off. Don't say it unless you mean it, unless you're absolutely sure you can be what you're promising. I am sure. I've never been more sure of anything. You were sure before. When you promised you'd never try to control me, never cage me. And then you did exactly that. Victor flinched but didn't look away. You're right. I made promises I didn't keep. But Claire, I was a different person then. I didn't understand what I was doing to you. I thought protection and possession were the same thing. And now? Now I know the difference. Now I know that loving someone means trusting them to make their own choices, even when those choices scare you, even when you want to lock them away and keep them safe from everything. Claire searched his face for signs of deception, but found only painful honesty. I need time to see if this version of you is real or just another mask. I'll give you all the time you need, a month, a year, forever, if that's what it takes. And what about Emma? She's already calling you Dad. She's already built you into her life. What happens if we try this and it doesn't work? If you can't maintain the change? Then we co-parent like we've been doing. Emma doesn't lose me either way. That's non-negotiable. Victor's voice was firm. But Claire, I have to believe we can be more than just two people raising a child together. I have to believe there's a chance for us. Before Claire could respond, Emma's voice called from upstairs. Mama? Dad? I had a bad dream. They looked at each other, the moment suspended, and then moved together up the stairs. Emma was sitting up in bed, tears on her cheeks, clutching her favorite stuffed rabbit. What did you dream about, sweetheart? Claire asked, settling on the edge of the bed. You and Dad were fighting, and then Dad went away and didn't come back. Victor knelt beside the bed, taking Emma's small hand in his. I'm not going anywhere, Emma, I promise. But you were gone for so long before. What if you go away again? I wasn't gone before, I just didn't know about you. But now I do, and nothing could make me leave. Not fighting, not bad dreams, nothing. Emma looked at Claire. Are you and Dad going to fight? Claire chose her words carefully. Sometimes grown-ups disagree, but that doesn't mean anyone's going away. Your dad and I are learning how to be a family together. Sometimes that's hard, but we're not giving up. Promise? Claire looked at Victor over Emma's head. He met her eyes, and she saw the same question there. Could they promise this? Could they swear to Emma that they'd make this work, whatever this became? I promise, Victor said first. I promise I'll always be your dad, no matter what. And I promise, Claire added, that we'll always put you first, always. Emma seemed satisfied with this. She snuggled back under her covers, holding tight to her rabbit. Can you both stay until I fall asleep? They did. Claire on one side of the bed, Victor on the other, their daughter safe between them. And as Emma's breathing slowed and deepened into sleep, Claire felt Victor's hand find hers across the blanket. She didn't pull away. 2 weeks later, the federal agents returned with apologies and the news that Thomas Garrett had been arrested. The investigation was closed. Victor was cleared. I appreciate you keeping me informed, Victor said at the door, his tone professional, but not cold. Agent Martinez nodded. For what it's worth, Mr. Kane, your cooperation made this easier. Not many men in your position would have handled it the way you did. After they left, Victor closed the door and leaned against it, eyes closed. It's over, Claire said from the kitchen doorway. This is over. But there will be other things, other threats. That's the reality of my life. Then we deal with them, together, the way we dealt with this one. Victor opened his eyes. You mean that? You're willing to stay knowing what my life is like? Claire moved closer. I'm willing to try. On one condition. Name it. You keep changing. You keep choosing to be better. Because Victor, the moment you slip back into your old patterns, the moment you start trying to control instead of protect, I'm gone. And I'll take Emma with me. That's fair. He pushed off from the door. More than fair. And we do this slowly. We don't rush into anything. We give Emma stability first, and then we figure out what we are to each other. Also fair. Victor stepped closer. Can I ask for something in return? What? Give me a real chance, not just tolerance, not just co-parenting, a genuine chance to show you I can be what you need. Claire thought about it. Thought about the past 6 weeks, watching Victor restrain himself daily, watching him choose legal channels over violence, watching him put Emma's needs before his own pride. Thought about the man he was becoming versus the man he'd been. Okay, she said finally. A real chance. But Victor, if you hurt me again, I won't. I swear to you, I won't. You can't know that. People hurt each other. Even when they don't mean to. Then I'll try not to. And when I do, because you're right, I probably will. I'll apologize and do better. That's all I can promise, to keep trying. It should have felt like not enough, but Claire had learned that sometimes trying was the most honest thing someone could offer. Okay, she said again. Let's try. The next 3 months were a study in cautious hope. Victor continued to prove himself day by day, choice by choice. When Emma wanted to join a soccer league, he didn't object to the lack of security at the fields. When Claire mentioned wanting to take a class at the community college, he encouraged her instead of finding reasons she should stay home. He was learning. Slowly, imperfectly, but genuinely. And Claire was learning too, learning to trust again. Learning that maybe love didn't have to mean losing herself, that maybe partnership could exist between equals. They still had separate bedrooms, still maintained boundaries. But gradually, those boundaries began to shift. A hand held during a movie, a kiss on the forehead when saying goodnight. Small moments of intimacy that felt earned rather than demanded. Emma thrived in the center of it all. She had friends from school, playdates at the park, a father who showed up to every soccer game, and a mother who wasn't exhausted from carrying the weight of the world alone. She was happy in a way that made Claire's chest ache with gratitude. This was what she'd wanted for her daughter. This was what she'd run away to try to create. And somehow, impossibly, they'd built it together. The shift happened on a quiet Saturday evening. Emma was at a sleepover at Maya's house, her first ever, and the house felt strange and empty without her. Claire found Victor in the kitchen, cooking dinner with the careful concentration of a man who'd learned this skill recently and was still perfecting it. You're making pasta, she observed. Emma mentioned it's your favorite. I thought I'd try. You don't have to cook for me. I know. I want to. He glanced over his shoulder. Is that okay? Or is this crossing a boundary? Claire smiled. It's okay. It's actually really sweet. They ate together at the table, talking about nothing important. Emma's soccer game, the book Claire was reading for her class, the legitimate business deal Victor was negotiating, normal things, domestic things. This is nice, Claire said, surprising herself. It is. Victor set down his fork. Claire, can I ask you something? Sure. Are you happy? Really happy? Or are you just making the best of a difficult situation? The question deserved honesty. Both, maybe? I'm happy with what we've built for Emma. I'm happy watching you be the father she deserves. But I'm also still scared, still waiting for things to fall apart. What would make you less scared? Time, I guess. Proof that this version of you is permanent, not just an act you're putting on. Victor was quiet for a moment. What if I told you I'm scared too? That I wake up every morning terrified I'm going to mess this up? That I'm going to revert to old patterns and lose everything? Then I'd say welcome to being human. Fear means you understand what's at stake. Emma. And maybe more than Emma. Claire met his eyes. Victor, I think I'm falling for you again. The real you. The one you're choosing to be. And it terrifies me because I know how badly this could go wrong. Victor stood and moved around the table, kneeling beside her chair the way he'd done with Emma so many times. It terrifies me too. But Claire, I love you. I've loved you since the moment I saw you in that gallery 5 years ago. I loved you wrong back then. I suffocated you with it. But I'm learning to love you right, to love you freely, to love you as a partner, not a possession. Claire's hands were shaking. How do I know this is real? How do I know you won't change back? You don't. That's the terrifying part about trust. You can't know. You can only choose to believe. He took her hands. But I can tell you this. Every day for the rest of my life, I'm going to choose you and Emma. I'm going to choose to be better than what I was. And on the days when I fail, because I will fail, I'm going to apologize and try harder. That's a big promise. It's the only one I can make, honestly. Claire looked down at their joined hands. His were scarred from a life of violence, hers rough from years of hard work. But together they'd built something neither could have created alone. Okay, she whispered. Okay? Okay, I believe you. I trust you. I'm choosing to trust you. Victor's expression crumbled with relief. Really? Really? I'm still scared. I'm still going to have moments of doubt. But Victor, I want this. I want us to be a real family, not just for Emma, but for me too. He pulled her down into an embrace, and Claire let herself sink into it, let herself feel safe in his arms for the first time in 5 years, let herself believe that maybe, just maybe, they could make this work. When they pulled apart, Victor was crying, I don't deserve this. I don't deserve you or Emma or this chance. Probably not, Claire agreed, smiling through her own tears. But you're getting it anyway, so don't waste it. I won't. I swear to you, I won't. That night, for the first time since reuniting, they fell asleep together. Not in passion or heat, but in simple comfort. Two people learning to trust each other again. Two parents building a life for their daughter. Two broken people becoming whole. The proposal came 6 months later, on Emma's 5th birthday. The backyard was full of children and parents, chaos and laughter, everything a kid's party should be. Emma was covered in cake frosting and joy, running wild with her friends. Victor pulled Claire aside during a quiet moment, away from the noise. I have something to ask you, he said. If it's whether we ordered enough pizza, yes. Sophia triple-checked. Not that. He reached into his pocket and pulled out a small box. Claire Monroe, will you marry me? Claire's breath caught. Victor? Wait, let me say this. I'm not asking you to marry the man I was. I'm not even asking you to forget the past. I'm asking you to marry the man I'm becoming, the one who loves you freely, who trusts you completely, who chooses you every single day. He opened the box to reveal a simple, elegant ring. I'm asking you to build a future with me, a real one, based on partnership and honesty, and the kind of love that makes both of us better. Claire looked at the ring, then at Victor's face, then across the yard at Emma, who was showing her cake to anyone who would look. Their daughter, happy, healthy, loved by both parents. Yes, Claire said, but I have conditions. Victor laughed, tears in his eyes. Of course you do. We do premarital counseling. We work through the past properly with a professional. Agreed. And if you ever try to control me again, if you ever make me feel like a possession instead of a partner, the marriage ends immediately. Agreed. Anything else? Yeah. You have to promise me that you'll keep being this version of yourself, the one who plays tea party and reads bedtime stories and solves problems without violence, that you'll keep choosing to be better. I promise, every day for the rest of my life, I'll choose to be the man you and Emma deserve. Claire held out her hand, and Victor slid the ring onto her finger. It fit perfectly. Mama! Dad! Emma came running over, frosting in her hair. Come see my presents. They followed her back to the party, hand in hand, and Claire felt something settle in her chest. Peace, maybe, or hope, or just the quiet certainty that they were going to be okay. It wouldn't always be easy. There would be hard days, arguments, moments when old patterns threatened to resurface, but they'd face them together, as partners, as a family. Later that evening, after the guests had left and Emma was asleep, exhausted from excitement, Claire and Victor stood in the quiet kitchen. I meant what I said, Victor told her, about choosing to be better every day. I know, and I meant what I said too, about ending things if you slip back into old patterns. That's fair. That's more than fair. He pulled her close. Claire, thank you. for giving me this chance, for believing I could change. Thank you for actually changing, for being brave enough to become someone different." They stood there, wrapped in each other's arms, and through the window they could see Emma's bedroom light, their daughter, the reason they'd both learned to be better. "I love you," Victor said, "the right way this time." "I love you too," Claire replied, "and I'm choosing to trust that love." It was enough. It was more than enough. It was everything. The wedding was small, intimate, held in the backyard where Victor had proposed. Emma was the flower girl, taking her job very seriously, scattering petals with careful precision. Sophia stood as Claire's maid of honor, tears streaming down her face through the entire ceremony. When the officiant asked if anyone objected, Emma's voice rang out, "I object!" The crowd gasped. Claire's heart stopped. Victor looked like he might faint. "Sweetheart, what's wrong?" Claire asked. Emma climbed down from her place beside Sophia and marched to the front. "I object because you forgot something important." "What's that, baby?" Emma looked at the officiant seriously. "You have to say that they promised to always be nice to each other and never go away. That's the important part." The officiant smiled. "You're absolutely right. Victor, Claire, do you promise to always treat each other with kindness and to never abandon each other?" "I do," they said together, looking at their daughter with overwhelming love. "Okay then." Emma nodded, satisfied. "You can keep going now." The ceremony continued with laughter and tears, and when Victor and Claire kissed, Emma cheered louder than anyone. At the reception, as they danced their first dance as husband and wife, Victor whispered in Claire's ear, "I'm going to spend the rest of my life proving this was the right choice." "You already have," Claire whispered back. "Every day you choose us, you prove it." Emma cut in on their dance, demanding her turn with her dad, and Victor swept her up into his arms, spinning her until she shrieked with laughter. Claire watched them, her husband and her daughter, and felt a completeness she'd never thought possible. This was what she'd been searching for all along. Not perfection, not a life without challenges or fear, but a family built on choice, on daily decisions to love each other better, to be better. A family forged from broken pieces and transformed into something stronger than either of them could have built alone. Years later, when Emma was grown and asking Claire about her parents' story, Claire would tell her the truth. About the running, about the fear, about the man her father had been, and the man he'd chosen to become. "So Dad really changed?" Emma would ask. "People can actually change that much?" "Your father did," Claire would say, "because he wanted to badly enough, because he understood what was at stake, because he loved us more than he loved who he'd been." "And you believed him?" "Eventually. It took time. It took proof. But yes, I believed him. And Emma, he never gave me a reason not to. Every single day, he chose to be the man we needed. That's real change. That's real love." But that conversation was years in the future. For now, Claire danced with her husband at their wedding, their daughter laughing between them, and thought that maybe the best stories weren't about people who had it easy. Maybe the best stories were about people who fought for each other, who chose each other, who built something beautiful from the ruins of what they'd been. And this story, their story, was far from over. It was only just beginning.